What's going on, everybody? This is Dan French. This is the French Workbench podcast, and we have another great show in front of us. We have a couple of guests that's in here, and this guy's come back again. I appreciate him so much. He's a financial planner, and he works at Peak Financial Solutions. That's his company, right?
Yep, that's mine.
And his name is Mike Keeler. So, Mike, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing awesome. About 6 hours ago, I was snowmobiling in Bryan Head, and I'm back here.
Snowmobiling?
Snowmobiling.
Wow. What have you been up to, man? I know there's a lot of things that's been going on as far as, seem like the city's opening up, so you're out and about a little bit more now, huh?
Yeah, well, we've been going up to Bryan Head a lot more. We've got a cabin up there, and just so we can go somewhere.
Yeah.
Did you guys get a lot of snow over there for the?
Oh, it was awesome.
Big storm that came through?
Yeah, we got about a couple feet there.
Nice.
And so it's been really slow. This was the first big snow we had up there.
Gotcha. So I'm also in studio with Joey Andron. He's from Simply Vegas. He's a gentleman that I've known not too long, but I've known enough about him that he's a good guy and really like him as far as a person. Dan. Yeah, he's a good person. He
nice
does a
selling.
lot. Yeah. And Joey, man, he's been around. He's done timeshares. He's done everything in real estate. So Joey, what's going on, man? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Good, man. Good.
Just a little tired today, staring at the computer screen all day today.
So if you guys don't know, we put this together primarily so we can give you guys information about not just about financing real estate, but it's a lot of financing talk. It's a lot of information about what's going on. Should I be a financial planner, or should I get a financial planner? And you know, we've had him on the show before, Mike, and so Mike's going to share with us today on investment properties. Should I buy an investment property? What is the benefits of it? Joey's in here too because he's a real estate agent. And so we're going to talk a lot about that. We're also going to talk to Mike about 1031 exchange and also what might happen with that today. And so let's go right into it, guys. So Joey, I'm going to talk with you for a second. You're a real estate agent. There's a lot of people out there that potentially looking for investment properties. Do you have any investment properties?
Me personally, no.
Okay.
I do not.
Do people come to you a lot in this market and ask for potentially getting into an investment property or investment properties?
Yeah, actually I do. I just did a contract today with a young investor, which is pretty exciting for him. It's going to be his first investment property. He actually relocated out here from California recently, and now he's going to get into the investment game. So he wants to get a couple of rental properties, start small, and kind of work his way up.
So Mike, okay, yeah. You know, we talk a lot about people coming to you. They have investment properties. Maybe they got 5, 10, 15 investment properties. I don't know. I mean, I've seen some people that have had a ton of investment properties. What is it that you can benefit from when talking to a financial planner if you have multiple investment properties, or even just a few? Let's say you have one or two. I mean, where's the benefits for that?
Well, one thing you need to make sure is that you've got them titled correctly.
Right.
And also protect yourself. I work with an attorney who does something called a serial LLC.
Okay.
And what that does is it puts each property in its own little box. So say your tenant sues, breaks their leg or breaks their back,
right,
and sues you, they can, maybe grab that property, but they can't grab all of your other properties.
So it's like putting it into almost like a place where you can't get hurt individually because it's being sheltered. Is that right?
Yeah. So you could only lose that one property, for example. So I've got one. I've got my business in one serial LLC, my house, my office is in another one, our Bryan Head properties in yet another one. And so by having all these separate, this way you're protected in case something ever happens in one of those properties.
So you have a lot of these things going on where new laws are coming out, right? With just in general, right?
All the time,
right? 1031 exchange. We've talked about that. Joey's actually brought that to my attention that potentially could go away or have a problem, right? Where you can't save the taxes. What's going on with that? Have you heard anything new about that?
There's a lot of talk about these things, and until something actually happens, who knows? But the idea is, with the 1031, I mean, maybe we should explain this. You have a property, you get some capital gains in it, and then you can sell that and buy another one. Now, it's a pretty complicated process, but that's kind of it in a nutshell, and you're delaying paying those taxes. The government's broke, and they want their money.
Right. And Joey, we had a client recently that did a 1031 exchange, right? And then they had a certain time period. What were some of the challenges you went through as being a real estate agent that you kind of have to paint that picture and kind of get them into contract very quickly. They have to use that money in a certain time period. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, I think it was almost 10 months or 12 months they had to do it. If I'm not mistaken.
6, maybe?
Or is it maybe 6? Yeah, there was.
I think so.
I don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact timeline, but it was a short period of time that I know that we had to work with. But it's basically identifying that property right away, so you can identify it in the 1031, and then basically that money just goes right from that escrow account into the other escrow account. So you never actually take possession of those funds. It just goes from one escrow to the other, and then they close on the property. So
we're going to look over here. I'm going to look at Mike here. This is Mike's website, and if you didn't know, he's obviously a financial planner. So Mike, some of the things that people come to and they always ask me, obviously if you have a portfolio, if you have some type of assets somewhere that the stock market, or do they have investment properties, or I have some money sitting somewhere. Obviously we know that money in general, you have to use it, and you have to use it wisely, and you have to use it where it works for you. And I think a lot of people don't understand where to put that money. So if you're somebody out there that's looking to invest their money, they're looking to put money into more of a safety net. I mean, we have companies that have 401ks. They got them where you can put money into that, but it's like a very slow process, right? There's not a lot of risk. It's just, hey, you stay with us and it's going to be steady Eddie. We're going to keep things going. What is your thoughts?
Well, there are different time frames involved here. And I use kind of a 3-bucket strategy. You got your now money. That's money in your bank account. That's money that you need to pay your mortgage, food, insurance, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you get your soon bucket. This is something, maybe I'm saving for a car,
right,
or who knows what. And
right,
then, your later bucket, that's retirement. That's money in your IRAs, 401ks, things like that. That's going to be used sometime after 59 and a half.
Yeah.
But that middle bucket isn't something that people often put money into. So every month I put money into a mutual fund, and it just sits there, it grows. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. But I use that when I wanted to have my midlife crisis. I said, hey, honey, I want to get a sports car. And she said, well, as long as we don't have a car payment. Good. Here's that that money.
Yeah.
And so I went and paid cash for my Camaro, and there we are. We don't have that car payment. That's pretty cool to be able to go into a car dealer, not have to deal with any of that financing stuff. Just say, no, I'm going to pay cash.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it too is when you look at people investing into the right things. We talk about where you're buying cars. That's probably one of the worst investments you can get, right? I mean, as far as like buying into a car, there's no obviously return on it. So that's something that you're always going to, like, if somebody comes in though and they're like, Mike, I want to buy this car and we can write it off for the business. I know you're not a CPA, but is that something you're like, hey, you know what? We really need to look at that.
Yeah. Cars are rarely an investment. I mean, they're the classics. If you had a, old classic Mustang and left it in the garage or made it a trailer queen. Yeah, that would be an investment. But, I've got a 2013 Camaro and I just drive the heck out of it and I have fun with it. It's not going to be an investment. I've never had an investment car before.
Do you see a lot of the younger generation going out? They make a boatload of money, and that's the first thing that they buy is a car.
That's one of the big challenges. Is they graduate high school or college, and all of a sudden they go from making what feels like no money to, oh my gosh, I'm making a fortune. So they immediately go out and buy a new car, and that's kind of the wrong idea. I think you need to start saving 10% from day one. If you can learn to live off of 90% of your income, that's a big advantage. And then, really, how much car do you need when you're 21? Yeah, it'd be fun to have that Camaro or Mustang back then. I waited till my 40s. So,
well, Joey's over here driving a Ferrari. He just bought one. So nice. He bought a brand 2000. What is it? 2021 Ferrari?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
and
I wish. I wish I had some fun money that I could just go buy a Ferrari. Well, listen, maybe I'll get to that point soon.
I was going to say that 70% of people out there, they're living paycheck to paycheck, right? And you got a lot of stuff going on where COVID and all these people that maybe look. Everybody gets a check, right? Or a lot of people are getting checks from this COVID. And I was talking to somebody at the UPS driver saying they've delivered more TVs than they've ever had in their lifetime. You know what I mean? And it's like, you look at it and you go, well, why are people not saving their money? And what is your thoughts?
Well, I'm always a big believer in saving money for those emergencies. Think life happens, right?
Yeah.
I bought the building from my father-in-law. I bought my practice from my father-in-law. And like 2 months after I bought the building from him, both air conditioners go out. Holy cow. That's $12,000.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
I had to buy new air conditioners or my staff would be really angry and, clients probably wouldn't show up anymore. So you need to have that emergency money there.
Joey over here, man, he's, you got a lot of people that, like your family and everybody, they all kind of like, having a good family and having set up properly. People that get into trust, they get into, just different things where, like I said, it kind of helps you get positioned in life. You have a trust, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you? Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think about trust? Do you think it's a great thing? I mean, because is it?
Well, I think all of them are. You can use them differently, right, for different purposes. My father passed away in 2016, so we set up a trust. 2006, and we set up a trust for my mom, so it pays her income.
Gotcha.
Right? So a lot of municipal bonds, tax-free stuff that she's not going to get dinged every year. So it's just something that's more of like a comfort level for her. So she knows exactly how much money she's going to be getting each year. But you can use trusts differently, right, to set them up for your family.
You deal with trust, Mike?
I don't do the trust personally,
right,
but we help clients get their trust. I tell clients if they like their kids, get a trust. If you don't, don't worry about it.
Yeah. You always talk about, too, that there's like the will. My parents recently, this is a while back, but I had a grandfather that passed away. They had a will, right? Mm-hmm. And they went through so many problems about trying to, they had to send stuff out. They had to put it in a newspaper saying that does anybody, right. And it's just like
the whole probate process.
Yeah, that probate process is really a pain in the what. So it's like, why would you go that route, right? And put your kids through that route if you just go to them and say, hey, and some of these people, man, they're just old school, do you know the grief it was like a 4 or 5 month process?
Oh yeah. No, it can be really horrible going through the probate process. It can take 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
And say that person's got a house. Well, you got to maintain that thing for 6 months or a year. A vacant house in Las Vegas, that'd scare me, huh?
Well, I got people, right? So let's go back. We're going to kind of continue on the investment property part of it. So you're not a CPA, but
no.
CPAs always say, here's benefits to buying investment properties. Is there any, I don't know, like not tactics, but is there any proven things that when they meet with you, it's like you can't give too much information because they obviously want them to call you, but it's like, where does the money get saved? Like, where is there money being saved by having investment property? What happens to that process?
Well, the one thing is you got to look at the cash flow. That's king. Cash flow is always king. Are you cash flow positive? A lot of people, they look at these and they say, oh yeah, I can make money on that. Well, if you're shelling out money every month, maybe that's not a good investment property.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You really need to look at the numbers. If you ever watch Shark Tank, they want to know the numbers.
Right.
And, okay, how much are you going to net after all expenses? Are you going to be able to save some money to buy that next air conditioner for that property, something like that?
And I do deal with tax returns all day. Mm-hmm. And I see people all the time writing income off. It's like, I want to buy a house. Okay, well, then you don't have any income because either your business you're writing it off or on the property you're writing it off. So it's kind of hard when you're writing income off from a property. A lot of people should utilize it, in my opinion, to say, I get it, you're saving taxes, but maybe you roll that over and you buy another investment property. Because ultimately, I don't know. I'll talk to Joey about this, but is it really a good time to invest in an investment property, right? Because everybody thinks that properties are inflated. There's not a lot out there. Is there really a return on your investment? So I don't know. What do you think, Joey?
Well, obviously the margins are much thinner than what they were a few years back.
Right.
When I moved out here, I was flipping homes and I was making about 30 to 35% return. Now you're fighting for maybe 8%. They call it micro flipping. So, I run a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of scenarios for my clients looking for investment properties. And, we're kicking out maybe 5% return, and that's taking into consideration of everything, right? Having that little nest egg of reserves for repairs, 3 to 5 to maybe 6%, depending on the property. But taking in all those expenses, it gets really tight. So basically, in this market right now, you're just you're betting on that equity. long term.
Yeah.
Right. So you're getting the property to pay for yourself. If you pocket, 150, 200 in some cases,
Dude,
maybe a little bit more, then
Yeah.
it's great. But, over time in this market, property values are increasing. So, every investment has risk, right? But at the end of the day, at least you have the asset with property.
Yeah, and I think too, Joey, I think to kind of piggyback on that, I think it's weird because a lot of people are looking for, how they're going to get set up for retirement. And when you look at investment property, obviously a 1031 exchange, what you're doing in that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, you might know more about it, but you're repositioning where you're taking it from one property, for whatever reason, you're putting it into another investment property, correct?
Right. And your hope is to kind of expand your assets. Okay, so I bought this rental and it's worth $250 today. I can sell it and now I can buy a rental that's worth $500.
Yeah.
Or I can buy two rentals that are $250.
Yeah.
And, so you're expanding your assets that way. But the challenge we're facing right now is capital gains taxes are super low right now. And where do you think they're going to go? I think with this administration, they'll probably start going up.
Yeah. Why are they low right now, Mike?
That's just what the last administration did. Yeah. He lowered capital gains rates. And so it was very advantageous, I think, for a lot of people to, just sell that property and then buy another one and don't do the 1031 exchange because,
the benefits are just not there, right? Like the tax breaks and everything is just not there, right?
If you're in the 15% capital gains tax rate, that's awesome. I mean, if they bring it back up to 25, 28%, that's going to be a lot of money down the road.
That's a lot of money.
So,
and it's going to affect you, Joey.
Absolutely.
And I think we talked about this. Look, at the end of the day, we all have to pay attention to what's happening in this world, right? I would think so, right? You got nobody really knows what's happening, but it could affect you, and I don't know. It's not the average person out there. Maybe the person out there that's just going to work and they're doing Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Maybe it doesn't affect them, as much. But if you're out there and you have some sense of portfolio, you got to have your ear to the ground on what changes are happening, what's going on in the economy, right?
Absolutely.
I think it's important to surround yourself with some experts, and you find a good real estate agent, a good mortgage broker,
right,
a good financial advisor, and utilize that information, trying to find things.
And I think too, it's like you got the changes in guidelines, changes in policies, all these things that happen, and it's like it happens every year, right? Yep. You got a new administration coming in, right? So if you don't have these people in place, like you were saying, then you don't know what strategic plan you should have to invest in these investment properties, right? Or 1031 exchange. Going back to what we were talking about with investment properties. So from my understanding and from what I'm getting a lot is now's probably not the best time on return on investment here in Vegas. But could you go outside of Las Vegas, right? And I don't know this answer, but could you go out in another state, obviously, where maybe that's not been tapped in? Maybe that market, because we all know why this market's desirable. We know it's desirable because California's out here, right? People that are coming from California, the East Coast, West Coast, driving the prices up. And honestly, you got a lot of people that there's not a lot of inventory because people are losing their jobs here, or they don't have a job. Maybe they're on furlough. Maybe they're just sitting tight just to see what's going to happen. So it's just, it's outside of Vegas. Is there an opportunity? I don't know. What do you think?
I think this whole country is just going bananas right now because all of my clients that are relocating here, they're telling me that they're listing their home and they're getting multiple showings per day. And I have clients in New Jersey, Chicago, California, all over the country. Yeah. And they're telling me that they're like, oh my God, I cannot believe my house is going to sell this quick.
Right.
And I think everyone's really freaking out because they think that interest rates are going to increase at some point.
Well, they are.
Right?
They have to.
So people are trying to take advantage of the opportunities. As prices go up, they're going to get priced out of the market as interest rates go up.
Yes.
Right? So they're not going to be able to afford that dream home, right? They're gonna have to scale back a little bit, and then they're gonna have to sell their home and kind of maneuver some things. But we see it every day.
So this is obviously we do a lot of Joey's real estate. I'm financing, so we talk a lot about it because we're in the trenches all the time. What I'm not into, and I think you're a little bit into this yourself, though, is the stock market, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know what are you in the stock market, Mike? Do you?
Yes.
Okay.
Big time.
How much do you think somebody? And you always say everybody's the magic number is 10%. Joey, do you put half of your income right into the stock market?
I wouldn't say half, but I can tell you this: lately, I've been dumping a ton of money into the stock market.
Listen, where's the fake? Because look, I feel like all these markets, everything you look at is artificially inflated. That's me. What do you think, Mike?
Well, the stock market hit a high today.
Again.
It's
like, when is it going to stop?
I'm not complaining. It's awesome. So, yeah, there's a big question. Is it really fairly priced? With COVID and everything that's going on, is it really priced appropriately?
Yeah.
And time will tell. We don't really know. I don't have my magic 8 ball here, or it would say
do you
hazy.
think that people are taking some of that stimulus money and putting into the market?
They certainly were doing that with GameStop.
Yeah. But where do they get that information to invest into something like that? Where does this information happen? Like, I mean, obviously there's a lot of younger generations getting into this, and Robinhood's a great starting point for people, right?
So, Warren Buffett says invest in things you know.
Right.
And so, a lot of people say, oh, I know Apple. I got an iPhone.
Yeah.
I think it's a great phone, so I'll buy Apple stock. Or Microsoft, or Tesla. I mean, all these things are just, all the tech companies are just flying off the shelves right now. But, sometimes what people really ought to be doing is just buying a mutual fund where you've got a professional money manager who's got some, decent goals. Or you can buy just an index fund. The S&P 500 is a popular thing to buy.
But that's boring.
Right? And that's what we go back to. I think people are looking for that quick, I'm going to get rich quick situation. And it's just, a lot of people don't want to risk their money, but some do. And it's like when they do lose it, they're going to be a little bit jaded. They're not going to come back into this and say, I'm going to put more money back into the stock market, right?
Right. So, I see people, they say, oh my gosh, the market went down 5%. I'm just losing my shorts. Like, 5%? Oh my gosh.
Dude, I'm sitting there.
Those are novice investors.
Yeah.
Right? Well, okay, so for me, I'm sitting there when I invest into something, right? I put money into the stock market. I'm constantly looking at my phone, right? So if you invest in something like an hour later, did it go up? Did it go up? This is what I do. How many people do that?
I do it all the time. First thing I do in the morning, I wake up and I look at my E-Trade account.
See?
With one eye open.
It's like, because you're looking and seeing, okay, do I need to make moves?
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's where people come in. They're saying, Mike, I'm not, like, for me, obviously I don't know what to do, but you might need to have a blend of the safe haven way for Mike to do this, and also more of a riskier, I'm going to just put money, like, some of these younger generations, like I said, man, they're putting a bunch of money into stuff. Sure. They don't know what's going to turn out, but sometimes it does good and sometimes it doesn't. But they go to somebody like you, they can get it, right?
Well, what I recommend is you put your regular money into a mutual fund, an ETF, something like that. And then if you want to have a little bit of money on the side and have some fun, buy Tesla, Apple, whatever, go for it. But do that with a smaller percentage of your portfolio. I mean, you want to have it professionally managed, whether it's through a mutual fund, an ETF, awesome financial advisor like me. That's where most of your money ought to be.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people don't understand that.
Are you checking your E-Trade account?
Joey's checking his E-Trade account.
I'm up, by the way.
Joey, you up, man? So you think about investing in properties, right? So anything else you would invest in besides just properties? Like, is there something out there that people might want to look? Because I know commercial buildings, right? They're coming into a position where they could potentially start having some issues. You got people staying at home?
Sure. You've got like industrial, and then you've got office space.
Yeah.
I wouldn't buy office space now. No, that wouldn't be.
No? You wouldn't buy a building and say, hey, I'm going to sit on it because or maybe wait till it goes down, maybe a little bit more, then you buy it? I don't know. I'm just, because there's a lot of people that are not going to work.
I just feel that office space is going to have a lot of vacancies over the next coming years as these leases come up, and a lot of these companies are going to be downsizing their space as more and more people are working from home.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I mean, you're to see a lot of these people like you and I deal with. Now they can move anywhere in the country and work from home. So they're not going back. Even if they don't downsize, they're finding that people are actually productive. And this was like a big awakening for a lot of employers to say, hey, look, stay home. We're going to save a boatload of money each year from our commercial space. And
they were all afraid that no work would get done. But they're finding out that people are very productive and that this is actually working. My sister works in Boston. She commutes an hour each way. Well, now she's only going in once a week because she's got to sign the checks, and that's the only reason she has to go in.
Yeah.
But, that's 8 hours. If she's staying home 4 days a week. That's 8 hours additional time for her. That's not bad. That's a good deal.
What do you think the average person out there, and we'll just put this in general, the average person out there has education in economics and also money management? What would you say that number is?
Negative? No, it's very small. The problem is people aren't really taught money management skills in school. And this has been a kind of a pet peeve of mine. I've talked with this superintendent about it. You know, they really need to do this. My wife is actually on the committee that helped set the social studies standards for the state of Nevada. I said,
right.
Oh, wow, this is awesome. Honey, we need to get some financial planning in there. And she said, well, guess what? It's already in the curriculum, but it usually doesn't get taught because they're always teaching for the test, that standardized national test that the federal government looks at. And the financial planning part isn't on there. But people need to understand interest, when it works for you, when it works against you. You know, when you're putting money away and it's growing, well, that's working for you. You can, you know, have your money work for you. That's kind of a cool deal instead of working for your money all the time.
100%. You know, you got a lot of these people with Airbnb. They talk about that.
Yeah.
They talk about investment properties. But let's be honest. What is the amount of people out there that actually put money into an investment property and say, I'm going to set this up long term? And usually you have to have multiple. One's not going to do it. Like if you bought in 2006 or 7 and you got like a $40,000 mortgage, I mean, you might be making, you know, a thousand off of it if you're lucky, you know, right? But
sure,
we're not in that market anymore. So is that really, what is your percentage of people that actually have investment properties that come to you and are like, Mike, you know?
We don't really get a lot of people with investment properties these days. People, you know, if you don't want to manage it, then you got to pay someone to manage it for you. And that's 10% or so. So that's money out of your pocket. And then you were talking about buying properties elsewhere, out of state.
Yeah.
Do you want to be an absentee landlord? I was for a while. When we moved here from Oregon, I couldn't sell my house. This was in 2001. The market was just in the toilet. And, you know, just couldn't get any decent offers on the house. So I'm renting it out. And I'm getting phone calls from the neighbors saying, hey, they're throwing a big party. And, you know, it's oh, great. You know, I can't just go down there and knock on the door.
Yeah.
You know, it was just really a big pain in the butt.
Yeah.
So I'm not a fan of being an absentee landlord. It's not for me.
Joe, do you even think about buying investment properties anywhere?
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
What changed, man? Like what, is your mindset shifted because there's a certain number you have to get off of it? Because I think a lot of people, they're looking at the fact that I'm investing my money. There's no real like direction. You know, you got people that at the younger generations have the internet at their fingertips. They can go online, they can invest. But it just seems like there's a lot of people out there that are going away from buying or going that traditional way, where I think a lot of times the vehicle to become rich or have some wealth is through real estate. And you could still do that, but it seemed like most people are buying it as a primary residence. You know, a lot of the generations are kind of steering away from buying altogether, and they're renting and just kind of sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah, so, the millennials are not buying homes, and that's kind of weird. They're happy renting, and you know, I've got a cousin who's living in San Francisco, having a great time.
Yeah,
that's awesome. It was not for me though.
Right. I think it's also too generation, right? When did you come up? Like when did you get started? Did somebody help you? Or do you have somebody that's influencing you? For me, I had people when I grew up was like, hey, buying a home, becoming a homeowner was like the biggest investment you're ever going to make. You know, it's like, wow, I did this. You know, it's like now it's not even important. It's just if it happens, it happens. But a lot of people are just looking to put their money into something where you got all these different avenues. And I feel like all the markets are inflated, but you have all these different avenues to put your money somewhere.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like investment properties or going that traditional way or buying, buildings. And I don't know, maybe it's just because the market's overinflated.
There's a different way now. Before, like when I was doing it out here, you buy a house, buy it cash, and you sit on it, you flip it, and you make a good return. Now that there's so many companies out there that are wholesaling, right? So everybody wants to be a wholesaler. Okay, so what that means is you're calling up people to see if they want to sell. Right.
Yeah.
If the house is worth $300,000, I'm gonna buy it from you. I'm gonna tie it up for $270,000. There's a $30,000 spread right there, and then I'm gonna flip it over to the investor and make that money without having to have a real estate license. So there's a new shift where a lot of the younger generation is trying to get into, right? So now you have that flipping, but now the margins are so thin that they call it micro flipping. So it's just you're doing volume, smaller margins, right? But they're not putting any money at risk.
Do you have you have people? It seems weird, but a lot of people come in and they think like there's discounts. They're always asking for stuff, right? Right? Does that happen to you all the time?
Oh yeah. People.
Why is that? I mean,
how do you discount your fees? They just discount.
I don't.
They probably ask for it.
They ask for discounted advice.
I mean, I can give you some half-right advice if that's what you want. But no, I don't discount my advice. I feel like I'm worth what I'm charging, and if you don't want that, then that's fine.
Absolutely.
I mean, we'll just shake hands and.
What's crazy though is it's to a point though where I think people lose track of how much education, and they go online, and I think a lot of people are like, you know what, I can do all this myself. I got it all right here. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make this offer, and it's all not necessary. There's still a intricate part behind the scenes that's happening where either you're giving them the little tips and tricks, you're showing them a property that maybe they would never have a chance to get by writing it and structuring the contract. They're always saying, hey, as a lender, can you give? I think it's just like this. How long you been in this game?
I've been doing this 20 years now.
Okay. And all of that years and all those years and all that knowledge, why would anybody want to discount that? You know what I mean? Like, why would you, like, Joey, you've been a real estate agent for what, 5 years, 7 years?
15 years.
15 years now. 15 years. Why would anybody come in and say, yeah, you know what? I've, went through the trenches. I, did all the things that's necessary. I just feel like it's a situation in a world where everybody wants something cheap. They want the easy way out. They want the easy, quick dollar, right? And that's probably happening where they come to you and you're like, Mike, I know as much as you, or I can show you right here, and that's not even the case, but they probably insinuate that they do,
Once in a while that happens. Oh, I read Money Magazine. Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
Good job, buddy.
You spend $24 a year for a subscription.
Yeah.
I spend $20,000 a year for all the groups and knowledge that I acquire every year. So, there's a huge difference there.
Well, I know that Joey and myself, and there's other people on our team, because we all have a team that talk a lot about the stock market. So I want to go back to that. Is it overinflated, you think, a little bit?
It could be.
Is it going to continue to go up from what you... Because, look, we're on uncharted waters, right?
So I deal with a lot of different investment companies, and I talk to them and find out what their economists are thinking, what their thought leadership is. Everybody seems to think it's going to be an up year. So,
same old.
Are we there? Yeah. Is it going to be as up as we've had in the past? Probably not. Maybe single digits, something along those lines. That's the thinking. Will it happen? We'll find out in December. But historically, we're a strong country, and we've got great fundamentals. A lot of people are always worried, am I going to lose all my money? And that's just not going to happen. Are you going
some of it?
Yeah. I mean, are you going to lose all your money?
There is a reality of
house?
Inflation, though, right? I mean, when they're printing 1.9 billion, there's inflation that's involved. So, this is the same goods and services, and we talk about this a lot because it's financially related. It's going to directly affect you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is going to happen? How do you overcome that?
Well, that's the thing is you can't just leave your money in the bank because it doesn't grow. It will not keep up with inflation. CDs historically have never kept up with inflation. So what you need to do is put it into an asset that's going to grow. It could be a house, it could be a rental property, it could be a mutual fund or exchange traded fund, something along those lines.
There's always a risk, though.
There's a risk in everything.
Yeah.
But the risk in the bank is you're going to lose your purchasing power.
Yeah.
That's the problem. You put in $1,000 in 10 years from now, what will that $1,000 buy? Guaranteed it's going to be less.
Well, and that's how everybody's talking about, well, how do you hedge against inflation? There's many opportunities out there. But a lot of people, especially with COVID and what's going on, they're like, well, I'm going to save all my money, right? I'm just going to put it because I don't know what's going to happen, and cash is king.
Well, and that's not a bad idea. When you're in a strange situation like this, where jobs are, not as certain, having extra cash is a good thing. That can help you keep making that mortgage payment or feeding your family, doing those things. So yeah, I'm okay with people putting extra money in the bank right now. I think that's not a bad idea.
So Joey, I'm going to tell you. So you have a family, and You know, a lot of people are setting up their kids, college, all these things, right? Is that something where you would want to get, like, for instance, I'm going to kind of put you out on the spot here because a lot of people trying to get their kids into college, student loans. See a big problem with that right now, right? You just saw something come out today that, hey, we need to do away with student loans, right? We shouldn't have them. There's a lot of people though, man, that don't understand how to like that they have serious debt. Now they might be coming out of that college or whatever that, but is that the smart way to go to college these days? Or just, I mean, what other alternative do you have?
Well, the cheap way to go is you go to CSN for 2 years, transfer to UNLV, and you get a genuine UNLV degree.
Which that's what I was doing, right?
Yeah.
And that's smart because, look, it was like 1/3 of the cost, maybe even less than that. Because I think it cost me like $1,000 per semester or something like that to do full time.
That's awesome.
At CSN.
And that's affordable.
Yeah.
Right? And then you go to UNLV and it's like, what, 15, 20,000, something like that? I don't know what the number is. There's $5,000, whatever. That's just crazy amount of money. But you know, when you're doing that, every time I get I do home loans. Every time I see it, I'm going to tell you right now, there's some people out there that I seen one that had like 25 student loans. They're all separated. They all got little balances. And I'm just saying, is that financially smart to be put in that position if you have no other options? Let's say you come from a family, no money, like Joey obviously is probably doing the right things because I know Joey, but I'm just saying, you know, some people don't have those options. So is student loans something you'd want to stay away from?
Borrowing some money is okay, but too much money is crazy. I was talking to one of my neighbors up in Bryan Head. He's got a niece with $200,000 in student loans.
Right.
And she's got a couple master's degrees in art. You know, wow.
What is that? And you have to say, like, you know, what is going to happen with that, right? How are you going to use that?
I don't know how you're going to pay those loans off. Now, if you're going to borrow $200,000 to get an MD, yeah, I mean that's going to work, or a law degree, something like that,
right?
But you know, the challenge is, you know, if I come to you and say, hey, I want to buy this house, you're going to look at my record and you're going to say, wow, what are the chances of Mike paying this back? You know, and that's
True.
what determines getting the loan, and that doesn't happen with the schools. You can get a loan in whatever degree you want, and they'll just hand it off to you without even trying to figure out how.
So you think there should be more restrictions based on your degree?
You know, that's a tough thing to say, but I think people need to exercise a little more discretion, and that goes back to financial education in high school. You know, teach people, does it make sense to borrow this money for, you know, a TV? No, it doesn't. Does it make sense to borrow money for a house? Yeah. I mean, how else are you going to buy it?
And you have to pay rent somewhere. So you look at a house, it's like, do you pay rent or do you pay a mortgage? So you have to say, well, pick your poison. But I think for student loans, let me say this about student loans. I can't count how many times I do an application and there's a zero payment there. And you go, okay, well, why is there a zero payment? Oh, it's on forbearance, right? I'm not making the payments. That tells me that you're still trying to reposition. You really haven't started that process. Can you really afford it? You know, and I get it. You want to come out, you want to start doing your job, and you want to start making money. But at the end of the day, you're looking at this bill and you got $100,000 in student loan debt.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't go to school and don't use it, but it's like, how does somebody know, you know, where enough is enough? Where's that breaking point? You know, and I think that's what I'm trying to get to. Like,
and that's where our schools are failing the kids. It's teaching them how much money should you really borrow. I mean, when people go buy a house, they're qualified for so much money, and you can't get more, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're qualified for $400,000 and you want to buy an $800,000 home, you know, you got to come up with $400,000.
100%.
That's just it. And you know, maybe they should be doing this, but you know, my biggest pet peeve is the cost of education. I think it's just too darn much.
Absolutely.
You know what? My parents were able to go through college, and my mom worked in the summer full time and worked part time during school.
Yeah.
And she was able to graduate with zero debt. You know, where did those days go? Nowadays, people are racking up crazy amounts of debt.
100%.
And, you know, I've been calling my state legislators saying, hey, We need to reduce the cost. And they say, oh, well, you can get these loans and grants. I said, no, you don't understand. College is just too expensive. It's going up at 10% a year. It's going up way faster than inflation.
Joe, you have a lot of people too, man. It's like this. So they come to me and they say, Dan, I want to get approved for a loan. I say, okay, we'll get you approved. We go through the process. You know, you get the taxes, the insurance, all this information. You got the interest rate, you know, rough estimate. And then they go, okay, I'm going to go out and look for a house. And then they go out and look for a house. And the problem is they always feel like they want a house that's more than what they originally started with, you know? And I get it. It's a market that's constantly increasing. We have a lot of competition. It's scarcity of homes right now. Joey's dealing with this a lot, I feel. A lot of people are going new, and I feel that sometimes in buying a new home, you're overpaying for it, right? You really are, because the builder's got to make their money. So how often do you go out on existing homes? Because if you go buy a new home, they got upgrades, they got things that's involved, right, with the total cost of the home. So they're probably going into it thinking, well, it's probably going to cost me a little bit more, because you're gearing them and telling them, hey, positioning them as this is probably, you know, this is the base model. If you want these things, this is what you need. But how often do you go when you're finding an existing home that people are really wanting something a little bit more out than what they first started with?
Always. It always starts that way. You know, especially in this market, a lot of people are going out looking at these resale homes and they're underwhelmed. You know, because they see, you know, the big shiny brand new home and they understand that that's out of their price range. So then we start looking at resales and then they're just not happy. So now they're trying to figure out a way how to stretch that budget, and find 100%. Exactly what they want.
And they always, it seems like to me, like they're always, maybe, you know, there's always that threshold, like I don't want to go over 40% of my total debt budget, right? Including with the mortgage. And it ends up in some cases on FHA loans, it's like 55% or 50%. That means half of your income is going towards that mortgage, or roughly could potentially close to it, 45% of that. So I think a lot of people just, they're still spending, and it's like this, they're trying to keep up with the Joneses, and they're trying to still keep that same house that, you know.
It's that way with everything, with cars, ATVs, you know, toy haulers, all this stuff. I mean, you drive down the freeway and you just see all this money going by.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, I don't want to sound like crotchety old men, because I'm not saying don't have fun, right? I'm just saying, right, for all of us, because I feel like I'm in the same boat. Like I sit there and I'm like, hey, you know, steady Eddie. But the point of why I'm saying that is people are always going to spend money on stuff that excites them. They want to live a little. But I think there's an alternative route to, well, you don't have to, you got to have some game plan too. And getting a financial planner, having a game plan, even if it's something that's small that maybe builds, or something that's like, hey, we got this game plan in 10 years. I want to retire and I want to go through it. I think that's when you really got to start focusing on, you know, for me, it happened when I was 39, 40. I just hit 40, right? So I'm like, dude, 10 years, I'm going to be 50, right? I'm like, I got to get started, right? So, but it makes you start to think. But imagine if I started thinking this way when I was 25. Right? What if I became a lender at 25? What if Joey and we all started, like Joey started 15 years ago, but what if we started when we were like in our young 20s, right?
Right.
It's always good to start sooner to get a financial planner. And I think what do you think?
Yeah, I think, you know, if you could start day one, the day you get that first job, and start saving 10%, whether it be in your 401k or, you know, your own IRA, something like that.
Right.
You're going to come out very successfully. But so many people, all of a sudden, they buy a car. Now you got a car payment, and you've got rent, and I bought this, you know, huge TV, you know, on credit, and you've got all these payments. And those student loans.
Well, it's this thing that a lot of the younger generation, even me growing up, you know, you don't really have that guidance going through school, right? Because they don't teach it. They don't teach you how to save that money and how to reallocate a portion of your paycheck to save. And when they always do the number, it's mind blowing, right? Because if you started saving like some of your first paycheck when you were, you know, in your young 20s, by the time you were, you know, ready for retirement, you'd have, you know, like $1.5 million, right?
Yeah.
But most people aren't disciplined like that. One, because they're not educated, and two, because it's easy come, easy go.
Well, I also think, you know, in your 20s, retirement is just so far away. Holy cow. I mean, that's a lifetime away.
Yeah, but say if somebody came, here's what I'm thinking. Okay, so you got a lot of millennials, and this is how I'm thinking. Just a lot of younger generation is thinking they got it already figured out, right? They do. I mean, I'm not saying to everybody, but it's almost like, hey, I got this at the internet. I got a lot of information. I know what needs to be done. You know, you don't need to have some, but you know what? People have coaches in life. They have life coaches. They got people that take them to the gym. you almost need a coach, because if you're not born into an economic family where they're just constantly drilling it into you about what you should and shouldn't do, you almost need a coach like a financial planner. And that's how I think of it. It's like, coach me, like, tell me what I need to do. And everybody's always like, well, why do I need it? I can go online and I can figure all this out and I can get this information. But
part of the thing is, it is a coach. All the sports stars, they have their own coaches, right? Tiger Woods, he's got a golf coach. I mean, he's an awesome golfer, but he still needs somebody, a third party to just stand back and watch. You dropped your arm there or something like that.
Correct.
And so when I'm meeting with my clients, I say, hey, you were doing $100 a month last year. Can we bump it up to 125?
Yeah.
And just push them like that. I mean, sometimes they can't, and that's fine. I'm not going to kick them out because of that. But I'm there to push them to, maximize their portfolio. Let's make it bigger. And so far, I haven't had anybody complain that they had too much money in retirement.
You know what's cool about Mike too, man, is he came in, like, we had him here last time, and he came in and he was just like smooth. I got compliments from people like, man, this guy's voice was awesome. No, I'm telling you.
Yeah, both of you have radio voices.
No, I'm telling you, dude, he's sitting over here and I can sit here and I'm sitting there and I'm like, it's the truth though, but I think it's cool because you come in and you're like a chameleon, man. You adapt to the surroundings. You're a trooper.
Well, I've been doing this 20 years.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot. That's the neat thing is you gain all this experience meeting with people and hearing their stories. And, it's like, wow, I'm going to file that one away. And, sometimes, someone will ask me a really weird question I've never had before. I did get one on breast implants once. I'm like, wow, okay, I didn't know anything about that.
It's a great investment.
But, you get a lot of questions that are the same. And it's like, I know the answer to that because I've dealt with that before.
You ever felt like there was a point, though, where, you knew you had to, like, spend your money wisely, but you're like, you know what? I'm just going to go buy it. I'm just going to get it, man. I have to get it. Like,
that was my Camaro. That was
your Camaro, right?
Stupid thing.
Dude, I know it's
totally
too, man.
Useless.
Yeah, I got a Lexus, right? And I'm like, dude, I've only had a Toyota Tacoma and I've only had a Nissan Titan my whole life. Do I really need a Lexus? And I'm sitting there going, I need a Lexus. I don't know why, I just do, right? And it's just one of those things, man.
And it's fine if you can afford it. I mean, it's a goofy thing. I like cars, and I wanted to have this car while I could get into it.
Yeah.
I mean, in your 70s, it's hard to get down into a sports car.
Well, I think, too, man, you got to think it's like, man, I was in my 30s, right? And I'm really just trying to make the right decisions and buy the house and do. But it's like I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, I'm already 35, 36. Dude, my life's passing me, and I don't really feel like I've done anything significant for me. And I think there's that point where you have to do something for you regardless if it's, ultimately.
Yeah. I had this friend, she lost her husband, early on and left her with 2 young kids.
Yeah.
And, she said, Mike, don't save all your money for later on. Spend some of it earlier on so you can make those memories just in case.
Yeah.
And, I've taken that to heart. I do. We take nice vacations and do great family things.
You have to do that. And I'll tell you, there was a story. I'm going to tell you guys a quick story because I know we're going to jump out of here in a second. But there was a gentleman that I was going through the process of a loan long time ago. And it's crazy because his dad worked all of his life, saved every penny, right? Every penny he's got and I was like, man, so he's got quite a bit of money in the bank. And he ended up getting sick. He ended up not really enjoying it. And, one of the things was like, hey, just go buy something, man. Just go take care of something, And look, it's good to be that way. So I'm not saying go the other direction. I'm just saying you got to enjoy your life too, because it'll go like that, And I think there's a fine line and a blend of when you try to get a financial planner to support and help you, having that coach. But then there's that time where you got to go eat that chocolate cake. You know what I mean? You got to get out and maybe drink that, whatever Joey drinks over there. What is it that you drink, Joey?
What's that?
What's your favorite?
Black Label.
Black Label.
Joey Walker?
Yeah, he loves that. So I mean, you got to get out and you got to experience things. I know, Joey, you drink a lot or not really?
No,
not really, right?
I had a client. He was a Metro cop, and he was really going for that 36 years. At one point, you could get 36 years and get 90% of your salary.
Yeah.
And he really wanted that. And I said, why are you doing this? You're getting kind of angry. And I just imagine reading the paper and seeing you punch somebody in the face.
Yeah, it's just like, are you happy, right?
Yeah. But he really did enjoy the work he was doing, and that was awesome. But the thing was, he got sick about 6 months before he retired, and he died before he retired.
Oh, wow.
And it's
kind of a scary story, really, because it's like
you never know.
It was really scary, man. But I kind of felt good because he loved what he was doing, and so that's awesome. But it sucks that he.
Well, you try to live. You try to. And it's not telling people, but you want to You would like to think that everybody kind of has a great life and they live their life to the fullest. But there's also people that don't have that option, right? They just come in. They got to work. They got to make a living. They got to support the family. Mm-hmm. I just think it's when you have that time, you have that time. So I think the whole thing from here is that, do you want a financial planner to help you as a life coach, support you? I would say at least try it. People are going to take bits and pieces of what we say and what we do, put it in, twist it up in their own way, but try it and see. And if it doesn't, hey, you tried it. It might change your life.
No, I think that's a great idea. And the one thing I would add is always look for a certified financial planner. That means they've achieved the top designation in the industry and undergone a lot of training. You don't want some wet behind the ears kid who's just learning how to sell a life insurance policy.
So we're going to go over this really quick. I'm going to bring this up. We got Mike over here. Here's his website, Peak Financial Solutions. If you guys want to look up his information, Mike, you don't keep your cell phone on this website, right?
No.
If you guys want to
if you scroll down there's a place where they can set an appointment.
All right. I'll tell you what, man. You got the gatekeeper, man.
There's my phone numbers there at work. So
I called and she's like, "Oh,
Amy,
yeah." She's like, "Don't even try it, man. Don't even try it." And then if you guys want to get a hold of me, I'm a lender, guarantee rate. You guys know that. If you want to get started on the application process, just to see what's going on, a lot of good information. Guarantee rate, man. We got a lot of stuff happening. Did you guys know that Guarantee Rate actually, and this is kind of a plug, but they actually sponsored the UFC, and they actually sponsored.
Really? How cool.
I saw that.
Yeah, and they actually had a commercial on the Super Bowl. So.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I'll tell you, I've been part of companies. It's a great company, and it just tells me that they're pretty vast, right? They're pretty big companies. So I got nothing else to say. You guys have anything else to say for Mike Keeler here? Also, I got Joey Andron. Yeah. You guys have anything else to say?
No, I just appreciate being here. Thanks for asking me.
Appreciate you guys. Joey?
I'm good.
You're good, brother. All right, man. You guys, thank you for coming. We'll talk to you at the next one. Probably see Mike here shortly.
All righty.
Thank you for watching an episode of the French Workbench podcast. If you want to tune into past episodes, please subscribe to my channel now. Also, if you want to look at our audio-only options, we do have iTunes and SoundCloud.